Hey everyone, we're live on another episode of our Genesis podcast. We have our great guest Jack from RouteScan. It's like a blockchain explorer. We're going to go into what Explorer is, how it's useful for people, for blockchain developers and other general blockchain users. And yeah, let's get started. So I'm Bulent from Move Network, and Martin, and then Jack. Can you talk about yourselves?
Yes,
So
yes.
again, I'm Martin, your marketing guy at Move Network. It's a pleasure to be here. Today is the eighth episode of our Genesis podcast. And with us today, we have, as Bullet already introduced him, Jack from RouteScan. And it's a pleasure to have you here, man. And could you introduce a bit from yourself, your background, and a bit of RouteScan before we dive deeper into another aspects?
Yes, yes. First of all, thank you for having me. And so yeah, I'm a computer science guy. So I graduated in like informatic engineering here in Italy, and I've been in crypto since 2017.
Mm.
Like I'm a bit like shy to tell it, but my first coin that I bought was XRP, was Ripple, because of
Mm-hmm.
speculation, and then and then I studied Zcash and then Bitcoin and a lot of cryptocurrencies. And in 2017, I started a startup that was doing mining in Italy and around Italy. But then after 2018, the bear market came and it was not so easy running a mining company. And so we had to close the business. And then I just, went quiet for a while. And in 2020, I joined Avascan as the first non-founding member. Avascan was about to launch and was and is the first unified explorer for the Avalanche ecosystem. And we launched 20 days before Avalanche mainnet. And we got a grant, and we basically were like, we were public because uh, we actually were releasing the product, releasing new features every day. We were of course public with with the website, but the indexing technology and the indexing engine was in a stealth mode. We really had we had a lot of, I'd say, not issues but like challenges, because
Mm-hmm.
Avalanche was a multi-chain platform from day one. And so basically we had to confront with the fact that eventually we would have to index 10, 50, 100, 200 chains on Avalanche. And at
Mm.
first we were making some simulations, and I think I have the Google Docs somewhere, and we were making the simulations, and we found out that we would have some like $1 million a year in indexing costs for a handful of chains. And that was not sustainable. Like
It's
even if we could find
server cost, right?
yes,
Correct, like it's
yes,
like server hardware cost. Yeah.
yes, indexing and storage costs. Even if we could
Mm-hmm.
find like some chains that would give us money for that, it still wasn't
Mm-hmm.
sustainable. And since since I'm not the 2013 crypto guy, but more of a like a second generation, I think that the crypto, for crypto to become mainstream, it needs to have all developers need to have the best tooling at the cheapest price possible. And so, and
Mm-hmm.
that was also the vision of the founders. And so we're like, okay, yes, we need to bring the cost down. And by bringing the cost down, we not only made the block explorer unified multi-chain, but also the indexer. And we were, in 2022, we were trying to sell the Explorer, but it was labeled Avascan. And if you go to
Mm-hmm.
Ethereum chains and try to sell something from Avalanche, it doesn't bode well. And so, we were like, okay, let's make another product. Let's make another product from scratch, and we called it RouteScan. And
Mm-hmm.
the project started in January 2023, I think, January, February. And we started talking about it at ETH Denver in 2023, March.
Mm.
And the first client we got was Boba. the Boba network.
Mhm. Go network, yeah.
Yes. And we launched officially on September 5th on a talk that I made at EBIC Web3 conference in Seoul, in Korea. And since then, we took Boba, we took Metis, we took Flare, Chilits. Then we switched from a grant to a service contract with Avalanche for the
Mhm.
transition of Snowtrace from Etherscan to us. We also transitioned Boba from Etherscan to us. And we also got a lot of other chains, namely like Blast, MetaChain, Tyco, and a lot of up and coming chains like Omni and Red Belly and a new Bitcoin Altius and
Mhm.
Kakarot, for example, that is
Mm.
a
DK based.
yes is zkVM based on StarkX. And so you can see right now, if you go to RouteScan, you will see that we have roughly 66 chains, 65, 66 chains indexing on testnet, and a subset of that, like 50 on mainnet. We have about
Mhm.
20, 25 clients. That's because a single client can pay for more chains because we don't care about a single chain. We just care about the transactions that the chain makes. And so, yes, that is basically what RouseScan is.
Yeah, amazing.
Mhm.
So you mentioned this journey from being from AvaScan and evolving into RootScan, and your function in all of this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're the head of growth, right? So we will see a lot of work going on to expand. So as you said, nowadays in mainnet you have like almost or over a little bit over 50 chains, right? So it's a lot of work being done there, and also congrats on that. And now that we have a brief overview of RootScan, how it all started, and what they're doing in the ecosystem, I would like to transition a bit now to Bullen's vision and tying to see if we find like common ground between Move Network and RootScan. So, Bullen, as someone
Mhm.
that builds in the blockchain ecosystem and faces a lot of problems that founders of new networks and so on face, how would you see explorers like RootsCan contributing to like upcoming projects and for the
Mhm.
projects and for the developers and future also for the users, right?
So I think
Yeah.
I think we are really working on I think two or three aspects. So the first one is to have the biggest feature set. So as a block explorer, we understood that a block explorer is not specifically user oriented, but developer oriented. So we do B2B, and it's like a B2B to B. So we talk to chains, they talk to the developers. So really the developers
Mhm.
choose the explorer that the chains need to hire, let's say.
Yeah.
And so we built around that. We built around the industry feature standard, feature set that is standard, like the one from Etherscan, but not only, because Etherscan is a very very good and reliable block explorer, but there are some challenges
Mhm.
that they have not yet like seen and or like faced that are about multi-chain. So
Mhm.
when you think about the for example the multi-chain balance, everyone goes to DBank or to Zapper or to Zerion. I use Zerion much because I love the wallet experience, but you use Zerion or Zapper or whatever as a user, not as a developer. So how
Mhm.
can you unify? So we're trying to unify the experience for developers that need to access many chains at once. And we have a pretty simple use case. So Zora is not our direct Zora chain, is not our direct client, but it is one of the chains that we index because we've been a recipient of the retro funding round three from the Optimism Foundation, and for that we decided that we would commit to index every OP chain for free until for as long as the retro funding gives us money, basically. And Zora
Mhm.
is one of those chains. And even though we don't have an agreement with Zora, so they don't pay us, and we're not the default explorer like in dApps or in major dApps or in their website, we still have a lot of developers that come to the Superscan, that is our unified explorer for the superchain. Why is that? I went to FarCon in May, and I found one of the Zora team members, and he said to me that he uses Zora, he uses, sorry, it's the Superscan from NotScan, because we unify the contract bytecode in every address.
Mm-hmm.
So they have this, they use the create2 opcode when deploying the smart contract. So basically, they deploy
Mm-hmm.
the same contract across the same contract on the same address across different chains. So basically, if you go to
Mm-hmm.
RouteScan and you simply check a single address, you will see every bytecode on the chains that we index. And so from that, you can simply check if maybe you haven't verified all the contracts, or maybe if there's a bug, you can redeploy and maybe check if the new implementation is correct on the proxy side. And so you can do that across all the chains that we index in just one interface. And this is a
Mm-hmm.
really simple change, but that is the single biggest change that we're betting on. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of like other block explorers are betting on different UI, different UX. We are focusing on the better UX is just the one that you know plus the multi-chain, natively multi-chain. And this is the first thing. And the second one is lowering the barrier of entry as much as possible. So the commitment that we
Mm-hmm.
made with the Superscan is one way of lowering the barrier. So so chains that deploy on the superchain don't need to pay us. If they want, we don't make them pay, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there were some cases in which like the chain is paying us, and then they apply for to be in the super chain, and so those are mixed, of course, cases. But we provide a single a product, a public good if they want it, and of course, if
Mm-hmm.
they want to have a 24/7 service, they can pay 24/7 support or whatever other extra,
Mm-hmm.
but the public good we provide for free.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the second one, and this then the second one is achieved by lowering the cost, as much as possible. So you know
When you say lowering the cost, you mean the cost on you from your side or from like the
no,
developer side?
like taking the cost from our side, but not like that we're investing in anything. It's just like that we continuously
Mm-hmm.
try to optimize the infrastructure. And to talk about this, I think I need to like describe a little bit about a block explorer,
Yeah.
and I works
Yeah,
behind the
let's
scenes.
actually talk about like what is a block explorer, like what is it
Yes.
used for? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
this was the follow-up question because we always aim to simplify like aspects for people who may already be inserted into the blockchain or crypto market. But
yeah,
let's assume there's someone now listening that it's like listening all of this and thinking like, man, what is a block explorer? You know, like we are already inserted in
yeah,
this context, and
yeah.
we treat it as like basic, and we already know what it means, but for someone who never heard about it, how would you define it?
So a lot of people when they ask me what do you work on, like parents or I don't know friends or whatever, I try to tell them because I say to them like I work in crypto, and they're like, yeah, but what do you do exactly? Like, do you trade? No, I don't trade. Do you sell tokens? I don't sell tokens. And so like, okay, do you have a home banking app in your phone? Like, okay, yes, I do. Okay, and when you go there and you see your bank account, and then you see all the transactions related to that, the ins and outs of that. So translate that onto the blockchain. The blockchain basically is a very big ledger of bank accounts and all the transactions that happen between them. And so if you want to go and see your home banking on crypto, you can go see that because it's transparent, but only you know which one is your bank account because it's all like like secured, let's say, by cryptography. Say you have it's a string that if you don't tell it to anyone, nobody will know it. And basically, it's that, and we try to simplify it because we try to make developers work with things around your bank account so that you can do more things. Or because money and this is like what I think about the block explorer. But when I need to talk about crypto in general, it's like money is not the only value that you can transfer. You can transfer like art, you can transfer even like love, friendship, water, whatever. You can anything is valuable. And so we track that, and with crypto you can build things on top of your home banking account that will actually be make you able to transfer a lot of things that is not just money.
So the information is there exposed basically on the Explorer about all the transactions, like balances, transactions, and then basically people can build other things on top of that
Yes,
information,
and they do that
use
with our
that
help.
information to build other
Yes,
things.
and we are one of the tools they
Yeah,
they use to build products on top of your bank account, basically. This is
yeah,
a nice tagline
and
for crypto, like crypto,
yeah,
build products on top of your bank account.
yeah. That's good. Crypto is good for that. Actually, blockchain in general is good for that, especially with smart contracts. And Route makes it like like, there are block explorers, obviously, which is like to track the transactions like we talked. But Route Explorer goes into deeper into like the cross chain, right? Especially I see, especially in optimism, right?
Yes.
Yeah, optimism chains.
By the way, we are actually in talks with Optimism to support their interop later this year. Who knows when it would make to testnet, but and we of course already supported with a number of cross-chain protocols. For example, Avalanche has their teleporter cross-chain messaging protocol that is already live on testnet, and also on mainnet, but it's widely used on testnet right now. And so if you go to our Snowtrace Explorer, you will see that there is like a cross-chain transaction list that you can see all the teleporter transaction across any Avalanche L1. But also there's, for example, Omni Network. That is a bridging protocol, and we support cross transaction there as well. And we also support the Avalanche Ethereum and the Avalanche Bitcoin bridges as well as cross transactions, basically. Because the thing is, even if it can be like a cross-chain arbitrary cross-messaging protocol, a bridge, a solver, whatever. It can be whatever, but the thing is that is a cross-chain transaction, and this is the single step that we're making into making multi-chain more usable. Like putting everything into one bucket is actually a great way of like simplifying things, because they are all cross-chain messages. Some of them only transfer values, some of them transfer value plus messaging. So the thing that you can actually go, for example, and we also track all the canonical bridges to L2s that we support. So if you go to the cross transaction page on the RouteScan platform, you will see a lot of transactions happening across, I don't know, Mental and Ethereum and then Boba and whatever. So every canonical bridge on L2 that we support is supported on RouteScan and
Can you explain like what a canonical bridge is like, and what's the
yeah.
benefit? Yeah.
So, what's the benefit? I'm not the best person to say it, I think, but no, because yeah. So a canonical bridge is a bridge that lets users deposit tokens from the L1, that is mainly Ethereum, to the L2 Optimism base, whatever. And the thing is,
Representation in L2,
yes,
yes.
and the benefit of that is that as it is advertised, as it is, there are no like there are very minimal trust assumptions to be made, and it's different from a bridge
Hmm.
because there is no external validator that needs to validate and relay those transactions, while it's built into the rollup technology. So that's the
Yeah.
easiest way I can tell. But the canonical bridge has some downsides there are like, if it's in the case of a roll up, you need to, of course, you can deposit really, really fast, but you need to wait up to 7 days for the withdrawal period, because transactions
Hmm.
need to be settled within a 7 day period, to wait for some challenges, fraud proof challenges, basically. And on the ZK side, if you deposit some Ethereum to a canonical bridge to a ZK chain, ZKVM chain, you have faster confirmation times. But on the other
Hmm.
side, the sequencer, like the prover, that is the computer, the validator that is actually proving the transaction with using ZK technology, is actually very expensive and not so
Hmm.
capital efficient, let's say. So there are
Yeah.
downsides in both. So we're seeing, for example, optimism that is trying to work on a hybrid technology, hybrid, yeah, OP ZK technology with Risk, I think, yeah, and
Hmm.
also Metis has a hybrid technology, but also Boba has some,
That's
yeah.
funny.
And so basically,
Be-
yeah, because the optimistic rollup is really, really good for like low value operations, and it's better if there's a decentralized sequencer. And
mhm.
the fact that a lot of people are transacting on L2s is based on basically trust that the contributing core teams are actually doing their work and are progressing the technology as much as Vitalik Buterin says they need to, basically. And so, yeah,
Mhm.
that's why we're seeing all these um, conversations about Vitalik not mentioning stage one L2s from January onwards anymore, and because this stage zero is really like centralized L2, while stage one is like
Mhm.
centralized with wheels, and stage two is fully decentralized sequencer L2.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's relevant to the Move network actually, because everything you say is very familiar to us.
When we're talking about this approach on cross chain functionality, talking about interoperability and everything, like it always comes to me because we at Move Network, we also highly value this. We speak about this all the time in our Telegram
Mhm.
channel and our Twitter and so on. And I also see Rootscan also posts a lot about it. And now I wanted to hear a bit from your vision as well, Bulent. When building Move Network and seeing like all these promises, all these goals that we have towards interoperability, how do you see cross-chain explorers like Rootscan, for example, enhancing
Mhm.
developer experience on Move Network when they are working, for example, in interoperable solutions, which is a great focus of Move Network, right?
Yeah. Yeah. When I was having a conversation in the conference at Token 2049, that indexer in general like is a very costly service to provide, and so we also basically we build our infrastructure based on the optimism stack, the OP stack, which allows us to have like the native bridging from Ethereum, the canonical bridging you mentioned, onto the Move network, and to be able to like use it. And similarly, like you mentioned, that the ZK hybrid solution, I feel like the smart minds think alike. We're also we actually experimented with the same risk zero ZK solution, and they run Move basically contracts on risk zero, and it was taking like it's quite exponentially like quite expensive computationally, but also time consuming. So what we did was we also settled on the hybrid solution where certain transactions, if you want the faster withdrawal period, you could run it through that ZK solution. Another other thing I want to mention is that the same interoperability and being able to be part of that super chain, optimism super chain, and being able to send transactions between these like every blockchain you mentioned, or the 50 ones, 50 the one you mentioned, that there's going to be transactions between Move Network. We support Move smart contracts, which are safer smart contracts, and the other chains. And then basically having the support of route scan as an indexing solution is going to like really benefit us in the future, because that's something kind of offloads that thinking, because you have to run a whole validator network, store the data, and index it in a very optimized way. And so that's going to really help us too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Great
super nice.
to support you.
Yeah, and now we see like here it's both protocols like super excited towards the optimism super chain direction, right? And this question is like mostly to both of you. We can like almost build a together response on this. Like, what do you find most exciting about building towards this direction of the super chain? What opportunities do you see there, and what potential challenges also do you see coming in this direction?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do a short answer. So for us, the blockchains, like being able to interact with each other and shared assets, it creates a new way of like applications, new way of thinking, because certain blockchains are become superior in certain applications, and other ones become superior in other applications. Like for instance, we will support like faster withdrawal periods times for using ZK technology, because ZK technology is a slightly easier on move language than EVM. So we'll be able to support that. But certain blockchains are going to be like game oriented. So, and then other ones are going to be for NFTs and other things. So being able to utilize all of these together, it really speaks to the core of blockchains being the smart contracts being like interact with each other, which is the core of blockchain anyways. So I feel like in the future people are going to build really good applications, but it comes in the cost of like more blockchains mean more transactions, which means more data to store, and I'll let you answer on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and that I think that brings me to the question of describing how a block explorer works, because a
Mhm.
block explorer is is basically a tool that has a website, but as an indexing engine that his job is to basically get info from the node and index it, so parse it, and and have it queued in a fast way, execute fast on the website and shown on the website, and then store it. So we have costs of storage and of indexing. And at first, when we were trying to like sell the Explorer a couple of years ago, the first place, we were having really high issues, really big issues of trying to make everyone understand that there's a difference between storage and indexing. We're like, yeah, but
Mhm.
I just have 10 million transactions per month. Yes, but then those 10 million transactions, you need to sum them up to the 50 millions that you made in the past 6 months. So they cost. There's a
Mhm.
cost in that. And so
Mhm.
basically, yeah, that's how Block Explorer works in like in very high, at the very high level, and why we built on the super chain. So we started to invest a little bit of money in the super chain, because I saw that we saw that optimism was going to be the way for Ethereum scaling. And I foresaw that when looking at the Ethers Phoenix vision that was drafted by the Optimism Foundation, I think it was a year and a half ago. And that mission of rewarding impact that equals profit is a really powerful mission that I think everyone can be aligned to. And so that's why we started to build on that. And honestly, we weren't you know we weren't sure how much the growth trajectory would be, like how big it would be.
Mhm.
And right now we cannot keep up with the super chain. Basically, right now I
Mhm.
think we index about 30-40% of the super chain, basically because there's a subset of the chains that simply like don't have an RPC exposed or don't even have instructions to run a node. And the
Mm-hmm.
other ones, maybe if they're deployed with a RAS, like if they're deployed with Conduit or Gelato or Altlayer, we already have partnerships with them so that they will come to us. Basically, they will upgrade their
Mm-hmm.
Block Explorer to us, to RouteScan, and so we got them covered. But there's a whole lot of role as a service providers and chains that want to like have a hybrid approach like you guys, and so this is becoming increasingly difficult to track. The guys, the partners, that we have a super chain Echo are doing a really good job of tracking every OP chain that comes, but
Mm-hmm.
still, like every new week there's a new chain, and yes, we have a fast 48-hour indexing, but that is like a
Mm-hmm.
theoretical if everything goes according to plan, and like if you have an RPC with debug trace and everything, if we have all the information that we need. And sometimes those information can be hard to recover, to get. And so that's why we we continuously say to everyone, every OP chain has a free explorer. Please DM us. Like yesterday, we had a post. We had Superchain Echo post a video about an interview that I made with them. I think it was in Brussels in July. And finally, we got
Mm-hmm.
another chain that they told us, oh yes, let's talk about having the OP chain Explorer on the Superscan. And so we're trying to like spend money to tell people to please give them the Explorer for free, so that
Mm-hmm.
we can index everything, because we want to really like arrive at every retro PGF round with the maximum impact that we can make. So like with
Mm-hmm.
with the most developers that use us, so that we can of course have the most profit, but at the same time not provide the service but provide the public good, because that is aligned with the optimism ethos, let's say.
Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
now taking a quick hook on what you just said, like reaching the maximum amount possible of developers using and building the public good, like you are recording and storing a lot of data, and this is like highly usable for a lot of contexts. And now, speaking for developers, what's the level of access they have like to the data through your APIs, and what are some examples of builders that like how they could use RootScan or how they are already using it? Could you share a few examples?
So yeah, I think one of the easiest examples is that for dApps and developers in general, they can just use one API and change a single parameter. They do not need to change URLs. They do not need to change the
Mm-hmm.
URL structure, and everything is presented in the same way across every chain that we index. So
Mm-hmm.
that's an easy way. It's like Alchemy or Covalent. There are a lot of API providers that do this stuff, but the thing is that you have a integrated workflow, because you go to RouteScan to see the contract that where you want to deploy the contract, and the balance and everything. You see the balance, and then you deploy the contract. We have some we are integrated in some workflow in deployment, contract deployment workflow tools like Hardhat uh,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, there are a few others, not remembering on the top of my mind, and so then you see that, and you check, and when you need to have like the ABI for every source code of, or you need to check the list of
Mm-hmm.
transaction, you have everything in one place, so you can just use RouteScan for everything. If you like right now, if you don't use Polygon, BNB, and Arbitrum, for everything else we index, but those three, four major
Mm-hmm.
chains we don't index yet. So if you are, for example, a user of the superchain, it is highly likely that you you have a better developer experience if you use us than if you use any
Mm-hmm.
other RPC provider, because we index the chain while nobody's paying us. And so we do
Mm-hmm.
it as a public good, and we also provide the APIs as a public good. And of course, if you want to go have like a higher rate limit or whatever, you need to pay. But it's and also yes, like like providers like Etherscan provide a single API for a single explorer, so for a single chain. So if you like pay, I don't
Hmm.
know, $400 a month on Polygon Scan, and you pay
Hmm.
$400 a month on Etherscan. But maybe you don't need all that. Maybe you just need half of it on Polygon and half of it on Ethereum. Well, with
Hmm.
us, you can just pay $400 per month and have access to all of those.
Yeah.
So it's a
Hmm.
unified billing as well because you just pay once for everything.
Yeah, nice. And Bullet, how do you see Move Network leveraging these use cases, these capabilities of RouteScan for like being a part of like sharing this super chain vision?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think there's going to be some um, easy integration opportunities here. But there's going to be a little bit of customizations because, and I'll mention both. But from the developer's perspective, the way I see scanning like ethers, an explorer being used is basically like you want to see like the token amounts of a user account, and this not just Ethereum, but it could be other tokens too, ERC20 standard tokens, or even NFT account balances and stuff like that. Plus, for a contract, being able to see the contract code and kind of show the code and being able to access the code is another way. So this is where it's going to be a little different for Move Network because the actual indexing part is going to be just like we support Ethereum RPC endpoints, so indexing is going to be just fine from going all the way in the history of like the whole optical genesis basic block. But the when you look at the and we're going to support ERC20 token standard as well. But when you try to like see the contract code, it's going to be slightly different. Well, a lot different because we're the only blockchain on Optimism that's going to have a different kind of contract code, which we're going to have move contracts. So we need to kind of maybe work on something custom solution to like being able to if either decompile and move contracts are not it's up to the developer to upload the actual contract or not. So it could just be the bytecode. So we need provide there are some decompilation services or software that can be plugged in and then decompile it and then kind of show that as contract code. So that's going to be a little different, obviously. But the way it works is going to like reading the account balances is going to be a little different. But we're going to provide normally we're not going to we're not going to give like the raw the access to like the move way of like accessing data. We're going to provide like the other ways of like just standard like ERC20 ERC not sorry Ethereum RPC endpoint access, but the indexers can like access like the and query the stuff. So that's maybe a little different. Maybe you can talk about that, like how you approach maybe like you probably haven't thought of maybe you haven't considered maybe like a non EVM solutions, but like maybe if you expand route scan to support like other types of blockchains with different languages, how would that could work? Maybe we can talk about that too. Yeah.
So yes, actually, we've been asked by many chains on a couple of move chains and
Hmm.
many chains on Polkadot and on Cosmos. And we also are in talks with a chain that is EVM but has a different language. I can't say the name, but I think you know what I mean. It's still a layer two, but it has a different language that is not Move.
Hmm.
And yes, like we are evaluating every option. Also, we want to since we are born on Avalanche, and we really love the guys, we really love Avalanche. We will also explore a different type of virtual machine with them. That is the Hyper SDK. So the Hyper Virtual Machine that is a ultra high throughput chain with over 40,000 transactions per second, but that is more of a long run. So you may be able to
Hmm.
see a somewhat basic Explorer by the end of the year, but also some a full-fledged Explorer by 2026. And between 2024 and 2025, we will, of course, like, I don't know, if if it were me, we would like support Move, Cosmos, Polkadot, everything. But the thing is,
Everything.
yes, there's a pipeline of things. I need to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to fight with the CTO every week about this. But yeah, we will of course try to understand what's the best the best
Hmm.
non-EVM VM to support, and if of course if it has a hybrid EVM non-EVM solution, it would be an easier way.
Hmm.
And of
Yeah.
course we can support like a few basic fields and data points from the start, and in like a year time we will be able to build a full-fledged feature set also from for that VM, of course, because you know usually like for EVM the basic indexer costs us like 6 months to build, but for like PVM,
Hmm.
that is like the platform chain on Avalanche, it cost us some like 2 years to build a full-fledged indexer, because
Wow.
platform chain as P-chain has some like specific things that also we wanted to overdo, and we built a lot of mini indexers to, like, for example, track the uptime of the validator every few minutes. So we have a
Hmm.
very, very specific validator uptime history, and also track the validator activity on the P chain across like a wide range of data points. And so yeah, we can have, I think we can have an indexer ready in some like 3 months, a very basic indexer
Hmm.
with some support in a few, 2 3 months, and then of course full-fledged explorer in the next
Hmm.
nine in the following 9 12 months.
Yeah, and you mentioned like a huge growth, as you said, in chains, and you would like to index even more if you could, and everything. But now also talking about the growth of users and developers, like balancing the growth for both of them, and also like talking about community as well. So it will be 3 points, but let's focus on users and developers. How would you say you approach scaling both sides of this for Rootscan for the platform, for example?
So right now, um so focusing on users and developers, we try to do it, but it's very hard. It's very hard because
Hmm.
Etherscan has a really strong hold on the Ethereum community, and so if you just simply try and even pay people to use Routscan, it won't work because it won't stick. So we
Hmm.
the single biggest thing that we try to do is we try to have as many chains as we can, and try to have as many deals with default explorer as we can. So if we're the default explorer, it will lock us in with the chain and with the users. For example, and,
Hmm.
and there are cases in which we don't need. For example, on Zora, we do have quite a, we have like 10% of the user base, even if we're not default.
Hmm.
And mode, even though if there's a default block scout explorer, mode has advertised Ratscan as a full-fledged solution. So a lot of the apps, like the majority of the apps actually, are using mode scan. So our block explorer as the default solution. And and in the other cases, we simply try to enforce and to like make them pay less if they set us as default. And that's the single biggest growth way that we're doing to lock them in and have as many users as we can. And I need to tell
Hmm.
you, when and it was working, because when the mini bull market came in like January through March 2023, and 2024, sorry, and we just launched
Hmm.
Beta Chain and Blast Explorers,
Hmm.
we had north of 1 million users every month.
Hmm.
Now the number is of course has decreased a little bit, but it is growing these days. Today I saw the numbers, and it was growing like 20% versus the past month. So we are reaching different numbers, but still, if we compare us to Etherscan, we're still like a little bit small in the sense that at the peak we had like 1 million users, and they had some like 25.
Yeah.
So still little, but the thing is, Etherscan is live since 2017, and we're live on RouteScan since 2023, late 2023. So it's like
Yeah.
1 year. It's actually 1 year that we're live. So
Yeah, and like the recipe for growing is almost always the same. It's like having good partnerships, having good like community efforts, and also the
Mhm.
moment of the market depends a lot as well. Like as you mentioned, on a bull market, everything is much easier, way easier. But now talking about growth, this is also a question for both RouteScan and Move Network. What
Mhm.
do you see already for the future for as well, like exciting features or new partnerships, new development coming towards the protocol? Could you share something to the listeners that you would like them to know or keep an eye on your socials, on your Twitter for what's coming next?
Yeah, I'll give a few updates on our side, and we're very excited about the coming months actually, because we're in our development cycle and product cycle. We're actually getting close to a DevNet launch, which is going to be really big for our project, because that's like the first time we're actually going to expose and show our product to people, like how well I think we architected it, and that's something we're looking forward to. The other thing we're really working on is actually like the partnerships with the optimism folks and some of the hardware solutions, and like even probably route scan, and then definitely like have more growth into our ecosystem, like builder ecosystem. That's something that we're actually going to focus on, and it's we've been kind of waiting, holding that off a little bit, but because we really need to have this like DevNet launch and to show something, like for the developers to kind of start using it. Because from developers' perspective, they just want to see the, hey, show me the blockchain, basically, let me see it, and let me start using it. That's what they care. Finally, getting there, it feels really good. And then I think we are exposing our project a lot on the marketing side, to be able to like get some attention and then show to developers that, hey, there's actually a lot of users here, and then you should build on Move Network. So we're really excited about those few things. We really try to keep it simple, build a product, have the ecosystem growth, and there's just basic growth strategies for us. That's what we're focused on in the next few
Yeah, so the
months.
main lesson here is if you're a builder looking for a chain to develop and deploy your project, keep an eye on Move Network for the following months, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And Jack, what about RouteScan?
yeah, so I was thinking, and I think what we are working right now is a couple of things that are strictly correlated. The first one is to grow the team. We actually made a few hires in the past few weeks that we need to confirm. But the thing is, we are trying to like increase our customer support for the chains, and our community support, and we are about to finalize a really big BD engineering work, because just today I was thinking about it, and I wrote it on X, that for BD to successfully work, you need to actually engineer it. You cannot just network and just
Mm.
send follow-ups, you know. And so
Strategy. I call it the strategy, but that's a better way to say it. Engineering the BD work. That's a good way to
yes,
say it.
because but also strategy, I think, is a piece of engineering, because strategy
Exactly.
is like what do you tell to yourself that you do, or what
Yeah.
others tell you to do.
But engineering
But
is a
engineering is
execution also, probably.
it's actually it's execution, but also the right tooling. Like,
Hmm.
for example, before 2 months ago, we didn't know how many chains we actually monitored. So what it means monitor, it means like, how many do you know? How many each of the team member knows? And so before that, I think it was about 200, but we didn't really know. And then we engineered a
Mm.
product. Actually, we actually built a product just to track that, and this product is now live for internal use, of course, and we now know that we actually
But
track more than.
it helps.
Hmm? Hmm?
It helps to it helps to make business decisions, not
Correct,
necessarily
correct,
technical, but it helps with the business
correct,
decisions. Yeah.
correct. It helps us to and the thing is, BD has slowed down a little in the sense that we have been making a lot of still a lot of contracts,
Hmm.
but as a growth, you always expect to make more than you made previously.
Hmm.
So in this quarter, we just focused on just having like maintaining the status quo, but increasing the potential that we can reach by having a tool that helps us make better business decisions
Hmm.
and also help us have a bigger way of understanding the Explorer marketplace.
Hmm.
So, for example, right now we know how much of the L2 EVMs by TPS of market share we have, or how much of the L2 EVM TVL market share we have. And so we know a lot of these things that help us make business decision and understand where can we push, when can we push, and really on that side. And also the second effort that we're trying to do is to focus on governance. So right now, up until like a few months ago, I was the only person that focused on governance by simply following all the OP news. And there are a lot of news, like the token house and the council and whatever. There are a lot of things. Right now, we're hiring specific people that will have like we're building a dedicated governance team that will help us like follow all the governance on the chains, like on Optimism, on Filecoin, on Zcash, on Zcash, on zkSync, on Avalanche, and so to make the best use of our reach as an explorer. And those are two things that, in one simple word, I call lobbying. So we need to lobby as much as we can because Etherscan has a stronghold of the market, and a lot of chains choose Etherscan because it's like default on MetaMask or whatever. And so we need to like find a way to like break this hold and break this chain. And the way we're doing this is through lobbying a lot, going to events and speaking at events. I will be speaking at New York Messari Minute next Monday, and then I will be speaking, of course, at the Avalanche Summit 3 in Buenos Aires. But we have I have like 4 or 5 between talks and panels planned at DEF CON in Bangkok. So we're really, really pushing heavy on PR and lobbying in general.
Yeah, that's a busy future you mentioned right there. Right? So going to a lot of conferences and, as you said, pushing hard on PR and so on. So I guess we could not forget to mention also your marketing efforts on X and your community efforts. So for everyone listening, please keep an eye on RouteScan, follow them on X. We are also interacting a lot. Move Network and RouteScan are also like always commenting on each other's posts and always retweeting. So keep an eye on both of us. And like just to close all this line of thought, where should users pay attention? Of course, we already mentioned X, but do you have also another community or articles that you write or something that they should keep an eye on?
Um, for RouteScan, I think the only advice I can give is that anyone that is listening should sign up on RouteScan using their wallet address,
Mm.
because you know why would you sign up for something,
Hmm.
Yeah,
and
so
of
so
course.
a subtle hint here, right?
Yes, because chains have tokens, the apps have tokens. Why do not Block Explorer can have tokens?
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's a valuable hint for all of our listeners. So
I
so
left
yeah,
it at the last inch.
yeah, this is the importance of watching until the end, right? The best
Yes.
always comes at the end.
Comment with token if you arrived at the end.
Yeah, yeah, super nice, super nice. And also for Move Network, make sure to stay tuned on our X community at Move Network, our Telegram community also at Move Network, in our Discord channel. And Bullen, for closing this like really amazing episode of the Genesis podcast, what are your final thoughts on this?
Yeah, I really like all the guests that we bring, especially for today's guest, Jack. That how excited these builders are in this community, in just general blockchain community, and really showing their excitement, but also teaching our audience as well, and also talk about like how the collaboration, potential collaborations can happen with Move Network, and then how this like ecosystem is so open to collaboration and building and growing the ecosystem. It's really, really positive. I'm very, very happy to be in this ecosystem. Definitely.
That's great.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining, for listening to this episode of the Genesis podcast, and thank you Bulent for your time here, and also thank you Jack for your time, for joining us, for bringing all these perspectives on the RouteScan vision of the ecosystem of RouteScan theme, and your busy agenda that you have for the next months. This is all is really valuable for our listeners. And also this last hint, I guess it was just the chef's kiss, right? So thank
Yes.
you very much for joining us today, man.
Yes.
It was a great episode.
Yes.
On to the next
Yes.
one. Take
Thank you.
care.
Bye
You
bye.
guys.